Jimmy Kimmel just made it personal. After Sylvester Stallone publicly endorsed a political figure, Kimmel's reaction was just over the top. Though Stallone didn't go into too much detail, many believe he was backing a governor known for challenging Hollywood's usual way of thinking. His endorsement wasn't aggressive, but it was straightforward and focused on leadership qualities he admired. But Jimmy Kimmel wasn't having it. Known for his strong left-leaning views, Kimmel reportedly saw Stallone's support as a direct betrayal of the Hollywood status quo. Instead of letting it slide, Kimmel went straight into damage mode, pulling Stallone's interviews off his schedule and setting the stage for this explosive feud. Jimmy Kimmel and Sylvester Stallone were never expected to agree on everything, but no one saw this coming. After Stallone made his political endorsement public, Kimmel apparently took it so personally that he canceled all scheduled interviews with Stallone for his show. These interviews were supposed to promote Stallone's projects, including his hit reality series, The Family Stallone. Instead, they were scrapped at the last minute with no notice, leaving Stallone's team furious and scrambling to manage the fallout. Sources say Kimmel, once a fan of Stallone's work, felt betrayed by his political stance. But here's the kicker. Stallone's team is now planning to fire back by exposing what really went down, and they're not holding back. Sit tight, because I will spill all the juice. So, what caused all this chaos? It all started when Stallone voiced his support for a political figure that clearly didn't align with Hollywood's preferred narrative. For years, Stallone has avoided diving into political controversies, but this time, he broke his silence. The endorsement sent shockwaves through the industry, and Kimmel's reaction was swift and brutal. What's wild is that Stallone didn't even address Kimmel directly. He simply stated his beliefs, something many people would see as his right. But in today's Hollywood, even the smallest deviation from the norm can set off a chain reaction. For Kimmel, this was a reason to shut Stallone out completely, even if it meant alienating the audience that grew up loving Rocky and Rambo. That's where the interview cancellations came into play. Kimmel was more than upset, because he made it his mission to block Stallone from his platform entirely. With appearances lined up for December, March, and April, Stallone was set to discuss his projects, including the next season of The Family Stallone. But without warning, Kimmel pulled the plug. His reasoning? He claimed that Stallone's political views could hurt the show's already struggling ratings. The move blindsided Stallone's team, who had carefully planned these interviews as part of his promotional strategy. Stallone's team accused Kimmel of letting personal bias dictate professional matters. And honestly, it's hard to disagree with them. Stallone's team didn't take Kimmel's actions lying down. His agent and manager immediately called out the decision to cancel the interviews, branding it as unprofessional and petty. They argued that Stallone's appearances were locked in as part of a promotional agreement with ABC, and pulling the plug without notice was just a betrayal. Behind closed doors, things got heated. ABC executives were reportedly caught between Kimmel's demands and Stallone's team's outrage. Sources say Stallone's camp even threatened to take the story public, putting ABC's reputation on the line. The drama didn't stop there. Stallone's team is now eyeing alternative platforms to share his projects, turning this feud into a full-blown PR battle. Here's the ironic part. Jimmy Kimmel's decision to cancel Stallone's interviews might hurt him more than it hurts Stallone. Kimmel's ratings have been on a steady decline for months, with many fans criticizing his stale content and out-of-touch jokes. His show saw a brief spike recently, but even that was tied to a tear-filled political rant, not a resurgence of genuine interest in his comedy. By alienating Stallone, Kimmel risks pushing even more viewers away. And let's be honest, people are more likely to tune in for Stallone than for yet another monologue about Hollywood politics. This feud has only highlighted how fragile Kimmel's standing is, both with his audience and with ABC. Sylvester Stallone isn't the first Hollywood star to face backlash for going against the grain. James Woods, a veteran actor known for his strong opinions, was essentially blacklisted for expressing his political views. Woods' situation mirrored what Stallone is now dealing with, that is, being sidelined for daring to step outside Hollywood's preferred narrative. The difference? Stallone has chosen to fight back. While Woods became a cautionary tale for others in the industry, Stallone is taking a stand, making it clear that he won't let Hollywood dictate what he can or cannot say. It's a bold move, and it's forcing people to confront the double standards that run rampant in the entertainment world. If Kimmel thought canceling Stallone's interviews would silence him, he was sorely mistaken. Stallone is already lining up appearances on major platforms to share his side of the story. Reports suggest he's in talks to join shows like Joe Rogan Experience and Gutfeld, both known for giving a voice to those who challenge mainstream narratives. Stallone's team is also exploring pre-taped interviews with other late-night hosts, including Jimmy Fallon, as well as major podcast appearances. By taking his message elsewhere, Stallone is proving that Kimmel's influence is limited. And honestly, It's making Kimmel look even weaker, as viewers begin to see him as someone who prioritizes personal grudges over good content. Here's the thing. Sylvester Stallone's legacy is untouchable. From Rocky to Rambo, he's created characters that defined entire generations. Stallone doesn't just have fans, he has a global following of loyal supporters who admire both his work and his grit. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel's star power has been fading, his show has struggled to stay relevant, and his increasingly divisive content hasn't helped. By targeting Stallone, Kimmel may have underestimated just how beloved the actor is. Fans are already rallying behind Stallone, criticizing Kimmel for letting personal bias interfere with his show. It's a big battle if you ask me, and Stallone's looks a lot more solid than Kimmel's right now. Stallone's fallout with Kimmel brings back memories of another Hollywood figure who faced harsh consequences for speaking out, Roseanne Barr. After making controversial statements on social media, Barr was immediately canceled by the industry, losing her hit show Roseanne overnight. Like Stallone, her situation raised questions about Hollywood's tolerance for differing viewpoints. The difference here is that Stallone hasn't made any inflammatory comments. His endorsement was simple and respectful, yet it still triggered an over-the-top response from Kimmel. This double standard highlights how unpredictable Hollywood's cancel culture can be. If Stallone's story follows Barr's trajectory, it could set another dangerous precedent for silencing dissent. Chris Pratt has faced his fair share of backlash in Hollywood for staying neutral on political and social issues. Unlike Stallone, Pratt's strategy has been to avoid making direct statements, yet even his silence has drawn criticism. He's been accused of not doing enough to align with Hollywood's dominant narratives, leading to widespread media attacks and online outrage. Stallone's situation flips the script. He didn't stay silent, and now he's paying the price. It's a lose-lose scenario for anyone in the industry who doesn't toe the line. By speaking up, Stallone risks alienation, while others like Pratt face backlash for doing the opposite. It's this no-win environment that actors like Mel Gibson and Denzel Washington have been calling out for years. Has it occurred to you that this feud between Kimmel and Stallone isn't just about two stars, but it's actually an example of the bigger problems Hollywood faces these days? The industry has become so divided that even minor disagreements can spiral into full-blown conflicts. Actors and producers are walking on eggshells, afraid that any comment or action could lead to career-damaging backlash. If only we could go back to the good old times. Stallone's experience shows how thin-skinned Hollywood has become. Instead of celebrating diversity of thought, the industry punishes those who don't conform to its unwritten rules. Kimmel's reaction is just another example of how fragile the Hollywood bubble really is. And with more stars speaking out, it's clear that this isn't just a Stallone-Kimmel issue. It's a Hollywood-wide reckoning. Sylvester Stallone's situation echoes what happened to Tim Allen, another Hollywood veteran who found himself sidelined for his beliefs. Allen's hit sitcom Last Man Standing was abruptly canceled, despite solid ratings, leading many to believe his outspoken political stance played a role. While the show eventually found a new home, the damage was already done, and Allen's career was clearly impacted. Much like Stallone, Allen faced backlash not for any inflammatory statements, but simply for holding views that didn't align with Hollywood's dominant narratives. This pattern of punishing dissent is exactly what Mel Gibson and Denzel Washington have been criticizing. If someone as established as Allen can face this treatment, it's